You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Let's get spooky. This is our station, Boo, where we explore the dark and mysterious corners of the world of horror, and we know that you are dying to listen.
Welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted host with the most, we have Lisa.
Hello, groovy ghoulies.
We have Karen.
What's up, my horrorholics?
I am Shannon, and today we are joined by our friend Kelsey.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about the one, the only werewolves and the evolution of them. So let's get spooky.
Hey, horrorholics. It's time for the Ghastly Report. Stay tuned for all the fun, spine-tingling news happening in horror today, from new releases to spooky events and so much more. All right, it is the Ghastly Report. So we only have a few things that are happening this week that we want to tell you guys about. We think they're interesting. We hope you do too. Come and tell us what you think is pretty interesting and that we should be reporting on. But there's two films that are releasing this week. The first one is Dread's Ed Kemper. It's supposed to be a really good suspense thriller. I've heard a few different things about it, not a whole lot. But I'm excited to see how it comes out. If you love serial killers, this will probably be right up your alley. There's also a new film. It is called Parvlos. I have heard very little talk about it, but what talk I have heard has been amazing. Parvlos, Children of the Apocalypse. It follows a few very young kids as they go through a post-apocalyptic world. Kind of excited. I enjoyed the trailer. If you go to our Facebook group as well as a lot of our social media, you'll see it posted up there. And then just released this week is Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer. It's out now, so go check it out. Tell us what you think. Are you excited for this one? What do you think about Will Afton? And then last but not least, this is probably my favorite part for the Ghastly Report. The beloved horror director himself, John Carpenter, is finally getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So congratulations, John. We are so happy for you. All right, so go check out our social media. We'll have all the fun stuff there. Also, go check out our friends over here at the ESO Network in their fun little clip that I'm about to play for you. And let's get spooky.
For over 200 episodes, the 42 Cast has brought you interviews, topics, and reviews that are unequaled anywhere on the internet. And that's not going to change. That's right, if you want to listen to a bunch of geeks talk about a random geeky topic and have a lot of fun doing so, then the 42 Cast is the show for you. It's your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything. You can only find all this awesome as part of the ESO Network.
Hey horrorholics, it's Shannon. Earth Station Boo has just launched its brand new merch store. It's time to get your hands on some killer gear. From our fun logo shirts, cozy hoodies, Let's Get Spooky stickers, and Horrorholics Anonymous totes, there's something for every one of our lovely little ghouls. We offer our spooky designs on many different types of products to fit your desires. But if you happen to see a missed opportunity, just let us know. And unlike most of Stephen King's adaptations, you know what I'm talking about, you won't be disappointed with the quality of the products. Head over to our link tree in our bio, grab your merch, show off your favorite horror podcast, and most of all, let's get spooky.
All right. Before we dive into the evolution of werewolves, from myth to cinema and everything beyond. Kelsey, our lovely guest, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and give the people a reason to know why we chose you for this episode.
Hi, I am Kelsey, better known online as Kelsifer Quinn. I have been a werewolf enthusiast since I was probably knee-high to a grasshopper. The first time my mom let me watch any kind of horror movie was probably a werewolf film. I am about all things transformation and transformative. And I have just been fascinated by wolves and the culture ever since.
Rock on, rock on. So before we get like too deep into this, just so everybody kind of is like all on the same page on what a werewolf is, because there's some people who just have weird thoughts. It's an individual who can shapeshift into a wolf, and there's different types, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But it's usually from either a curse or it is like a full-on able voluntary transformation type deal. And most languages, the name werewolf, whatever language it is usually a form of wolf and man put together. So, no, that's super vague. I'm really, really sorry. But there's a lot of lore behind it, and we're going to get to that. But before we get too deep, let's just get everybody's like initial thoughts on werewolves and even their media representation. Kelsey, since you're our guest, you get to go first.
Ooh, hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love werewolves. Like I said, they're my favorite monster. I love the duality. Like you said, man and beast is sort of the juxtaposition that I love about horror is that we all have that inside of us or potentially inside of us, that it could emerge at any moment, even when the moon is full, even a man who says his prayers by night. Perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself. But I also feel like the werewolves always get the short end of the stick compared to vampires. I feel like everyone's maybe lusting after those vamps a little bit too much. But that's why I like werewolves.
It's just because they're, they're fancy schmancy.
Yeah, exactly. I, like my men to be manly men.
There you go. There you go. Lisa, how about you?
Yes, I have loved werewolves for, since I was a little kid. My dad used to take me to movies that mom wasn't too happy about, but that's okay. But I love them because of the transformative and all the different mythos behind them. And, like she was talking about, everybody likes the vampire. I like the werewolves because you can walk during the day and you can eat what you want. I like food. I don't want to just be stuck on a blood diet. But anyway, I mean, it's like that inner shadow self of you that you've been holding, and then all of a sudden you just let loose and go wild. Even if you can't control it, it's just there's something cerebral about the whole transformation and everything. I've always liked them. My favorite are the big-eared, fluffy ones.
Who doesn't love a big, fluffy-eared pet?
They just want pets.
I love them. They're my favorite design. So I love werewolves. I always loved werewolves. I like nature. They've always been my favorite monsters.
Rock on. Karen, how about you?
I'm never really keen on creatures or werewolves. Like, my love will always be zombies, because that's like the first horror that I've watched, and that was with my mother. I love the fact that a werewolf can be both man and wolf. I love the mythos behind it. You could be like a skinwalker. You could be cursed. You can make a deal with the devil. You either change at will, change at the moonlight. I do love that whole mythos behind them. I mean, I have played a were creature for White Wolf before. Yes, I'm bringing in White Wolf, yeah. I'm going old school.
You're fine.
Mine wasn't really a werewolf. Mine was a were creature, and it was the Ayaba, which was a were hyena. So I do love the whole transformation that they go through when they, do the phases. But it's not really my favorite monster. I mean, I would say it would be like my third favorite because I would say it was zombie and then Promethean or Frankenstein's monster
Mm-hmm.
and then werewolves.
That's fair. That's fair. Hey, everybody has their own favorites, and that's perfectly okay. I actually really do like werewolves, and I like how there's so many types that you can have, and I like how there is a lot of variety to how they can come about. Won't lie, most of my reading is usually werewolf based. I won't lie. Like a good portion of it.
You wouldn't be alone.
No, definitely not. Especially with how many new ones come out where I'm like, it's the same story over and over again. But okay, I'll keep reading it. It's good mind-numbing reading. But I I like how there is that duality. And I think a lot of it is even just with us in general, like us as human beings, where we have to fight our animalistic and instincts and things that we've done for hundreds and thousands of years because that's what our ancestors did to survive, and how we still have that animalistic need inside of us all. And so I like that there's now like a creature that shows that it shows that duality. And I think the way that it's evolved through media is interesting as well. I think it's interesting how it went from, one thing to something completely different. And I'm kind of excited to see where it goes from here. I think we're kind of cinema wise, we're kind of like in a werewolf lull. So I have a feeling that maybe because of a movie that's coming out in 2025, that things might be changing. But we'll talk about that later. All right. So before we dive too much further, let's go ahead and get the different types of werewolves out of the way so people aren't like, well, I thought a werewolf was like blah, blah, blah. No, there's multiple types. We're going to cover almost all of them at some point in time in this episode. Bear with us. But for those of you who are like, wait, there's multiple types, let us explain. First is how you are changing. There is the cursed variety, and then there is this is just a natural genetic thing, or the shape-shifting variety. So there's the two. Usually with the cursed, you don't have control. You usually don't have any memories, and it's usually controlled by a moon and or somebody else who is turning this person into it. They are a victim that happens to be turned into this vicious creature. With shape-shifting, it's usually more of a voluntary thing. It's considered a blessing. It's a genetic change at will type deal. And their wolf is actually part of who they are and not a separate identity type creature. Okay? Then we're going to talk into like what the wolf actually looks like, because there's multiple different types of those.
Mhm.
First, there's the animal types. One, you turn straight into what looks like a regular normal wolf. Cool. Then the second animal type is like a dire wolf. So a massive, giant, horse-sized wolf. Those are the two animalistic ones. Then you have more of like the hybrid, humanoid type-esque ones. You have the Wolfman, think Lon Chaney Jr., mostly man, just kind of furry, has some claws, and a weird nose and fangs. Like, mostly human, but you can tell, like, the wolf has kind of entered the scene a little bit. Then you have, like, the monster wolf. So think Hugh Jackman's werewolf in Van Helsing. It's going to be this big, massive, mostly wolf, but happens to hang out on two legs with more of, like, a humanist kind of torso to it. But mostly it looks like a wolf, just slightly humanoid.
Maybe with opposable thumbs.
Possibly with opposable thumbs. Because that one's like a sometimes they have opposable thumbs and sometimes they don't. It's like a weird thing where like the dew claw ends up being it's
Sometimes.
awkward. It's awkward. But those are going to be like the four like main types. There's obviously things that are a little bit in between on all of those. There are some that they can do a multitude of those. There are some that like it's just a completely separate thing all on its own. But that's most of your media. That is what you're going to come across. And when it comes to lore, that's what most of the lore is kind of based off of. And actually, most of the lore is more on like the animal side.
So for those who like, played werewolf, White Wolf, Werewolf, kind of the same concept. I mean, you have your human form, which is the Homid, Galabro, which is kind of somewhat like a Homid, but you have your strength of the true werewolf. You have the Krinos, which is like the wolf man. The Hispos is like the dire wolf, size of pony. And then you have your Lupus, which is like the wolf form, the true wolf form. So if y'all gamers out there, that's what we're talking about.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So now we're going to kind of get into like the mythos. Lycanthropy is kind of like a general term that you can use to kind of like look up a lot of werewolf lore because that's kind of where a lot of it kind of started from. Most of the myths that you find that are like the oldest happen to be coming from ancient Greece. They start with King Lycon, who, depending on which version of the myth you hear, sacrificed an individual. Some of them it's a child, some of it's just some random servant. Sacrificed a child or person to Zeus to prove that Zeus was a god. Zeus got disgusted, was like, why are you putting entrails on my sacrificial table? And decided to turn the king into a wolf for 10 years. And then other forms of that have spread, and there is multiple forms of Greek lore that expand from that, talking about the Arcadians, which King Lycan was kind of part of that area. So when you go back and you kind of look at a lot of those lores, it all kind of stems back from that original story. He was a wolf. A lot of the wolf stories in that, again, it's 10-year span, but if you did not eat human flesh during that 10 years, you got to come back as a human. However, if you did eat human flesh, the rules of cannibalism, you end up saying a wolf for the rest of your life. But there was all sorts of poems about it. A lot of them speak of the human consumption. A lot of them also talk about like rituals that span similar as things where it's somebody gets sacrificed, somebody who has been chosen, has to go through this trial and has to do this wolf thing. But then we get into medieval times, and that is where you get a height of wolf folklore, and you get it from the Germanic side, you get it from the French areas. There is even some folklore in Ireland and Wales. You also have stuff reaching into Eastern Europe, and you have Hungary and Balkan lore, and it just spreads all over the place.
It's honestly like the witch trials in a way.
It goes hand in hand because of Christianity and the spread of that through there, the demonization of these werewolf lores, because a lot of them were actually superheroes or protectors or things like that. But because of Christianity, it became, no, these people were cursed. They were put on a spell on them by a witch. Or if you go into like the Eastern European side, there's ties to them being a familiar for a vampire, things along that line. So it's, there's like a lot, a lot to it.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. But with the Christian spread, with all of that happening, werewolf and witch hunts were one and the same. A lot of people who were called a witch were also convicted of being a werewolf. And so it was kind of like a hand-in-hand thing. As one progressed, so did the other. But you have all of that. You have even tales of Irish women being werewolves, which that was kind of new. Most of the older lore was male-dominated when it came to the transformation. But in Ireland, they had quite a few women who were.
So I thought that was kind of neat. I was like, oh, the Irish were starting to include the ladies in on this. Like Northern Germanic / Scandinavian had a lot of werewolf lore as well, but again, it was very much the wolf was a protector for them. There was also a group of Vikings, similar to the Berserkers, who actually wore wolf clothing and were considered werewolves because they would go through and pillage and do what Vikings do, and they would do it while wearing wolf skin, which fed into the lore of there being werewolves. And so those will probably actually look more like our monstrous wolf friends when it comes to the different types.
Well, I suppose it depends on if you're speaking from the Viking side or the village that they might be pillaging from.
I mean, well, you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Lore doesn't come from necessarily just the people who are pillaging. It would be coming from the people who are being left behind, who are like, we had these like massive werewolf guys coming through and they were just tearing things left and right and, stealing our women and children, and we were catching things on fire. And
it kind of reminds me of the tale of the 13th Warrior, where, they had the men dressed in bears and they're like, it's a bear.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's just...
No.
But think about it. Middle of the night, you wake up, you're being pillaged, and all you see is a massive wolf head with that
bear head or whatever head.
Or
and this
animal
man is completely covered in fur and isn't being sliced by the swords because he's got armor on. Like, it's one of those things of like, in your disoriented state, it makes sense why they'd be like, oh, it was a werewolf, it was a man wolf.
Can you imagine being pillaged by somebody dressed up as a deer or an elk?
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Are we going back to the book that we read not too long ago?
I mean, come on. You'd be like, is that a deer or an elk or a moose attacking? I'll be more afraid of a moose.
Oh, those things are huge.
Yeah.
Could you like you're sitting there like, it's a weremoose.
He took all my carrots.
Hey, that elk that we read about, she did far more than that.
Yeah, she did.
Oh. You'll have to go read the book.
I'll have to go read the book.
All right. But we're going to kind of come into more of like a modern time frame. So we do have the witch trials, which kind of inspired what we now know of as Gothic horror and like the birth of werewolf fiction. Because of the folklore from the witch trials, people are like, but that's kind of interesting. I kind of want to read about that. And so they kind of did all that. You did also have a few serial killers who were convicted and publicly convicted and executed because they were considered quote unquote werewolves. You have Giles Grenier in 1573. He was a serial killer caught in France and was executed by the guillotine. You also have French Peter Stump in 1589, aka the Werewolf of Bedburg, who allegedly was a serial killer and cannibal. And yes, cannibalism is going to come up again for us. So we kind of talk about cannibalism every episode.
What's not to love?
Right. However, in the late 16th century, the thought of being a werewolf or lycanthropy, whatever you want to call it, was actually starting to become considered a mental disorder. Surprisingly, that early, they were starting to actually consider it, oh no, this person's just crazy and thinks they're a wolf, versus they actually are a wolf. So it did then start becoming treated in a different fashion versus them thinking it's like a witch hunt type deal. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's werewolf lore all over the world. It's not just in Greece and most of Europe. There is actually Asian folklore, the Turkic folklore. It talks about a shaman who can turn into a man wolf. But these are actually
ancient ancestors who are able to then protect and are respected amongst the people. If they see somebody who can do that, they're highly revered because it's a ancestral protector. Then you have the Hungary/Balkan. This is where it's mostly a cursed child, but there is a lot of ties to witches and vampires in that area. And there's usually some type of form of hunting that has to be done with both and or one of the forms. Then you go to Caucasus, which is where actually women were condemned and turned into wolves for 7 years for committing a deadly sin. And while they were transformed, they would eat children, starting with their own and then just go down the line. Which, coming into the Americas, native lore has quite a few different things when it comes to werewolves. They do have a lot of werewolf protectors, ones that will go after hunters who break religion and rules and ritual. They also have wolf witches that would actually attack different tribes, and they consider them to be evil. Some of that folklore is actually thought to be in connection to some of the Vikings who came and settled up in the northeast of the Americas. Then you have the Rougarou, you have the Lapgarou, you even have the Wendigos, which all can be considered a werewolf type entity, even though depending on where you hear the lore from, sometimes they don't technically have a wolf form. Then, if you drop down into Mexico, they even have one called the Nagal. It's a shape-shifting creature, very similar to the Asian type of creatures. They are highly revered. They are considered protectors. Then you have Haitian lore. You have the red eyes, or I'm going to probably say it wrong, but the Jerougs. But it's a spirit that can possess anyone and turn them into a cannibalistic lupine creature, which I thought that was actually kind of neat. So that's a very broad stroke of all the folklore.
A quick thing, when I found out when I was doing my research, that one of the possible early records of werewolfism, werewolf, was mentioned in possibly the Epic of Gilgamesh, where Gilgamesh jilted a potential lover.
Yes.
Because she turned her previous mates into like a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be akin to the legend of Circe, who turns all of her lovers into animals.
Mm-hmm.
usually pigs, usually portrayed as pigs, but
there's a lot of lore that comes from other lore. So yeah, it's kind of like one of those which one came first kind of deal.
For sure.
Also, part of the Native American lore was that the Lewis and Clark expedition potentially ran into werewolves. There's some research I was doing a while back, and I remember it. And supposedly they had run into some kind of werewolves or something during their expedition. So that's kind of a cool Native American history about werewolves too.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, if you go through, and like I said, I'm just doing broad strokes. I'm not getting into nitty gritty kind of stuff, because otherwise we will be here all day.
4-hour podcast.
Yes. But this is also stuff that we can come back and we can talk about later on, where we can go into specifically the mythology of werewolves in the Americas or in other areas. Now, with all of the folklore that we just talked about, before we really dive into kind of not really dive in, but before we all kind of give our 2 cents on all the folklore, there were a couple of things that medically and scientifically can actually explain some of where the lore can kind of come from. First and foremost is the hypertrichosis, which is, if you ever heard of the wolf boy that you saw at the circus, that's it. It's basically a human being who literally grows hair on 95% of their body, minus literally their eyes, their lips, and the palms of their hand. Outside of that, they're covered in hair. And I'm not talking about the little bit of fuzz that you have on your arms. No, what you have on your head all over their body. When you actually like look up like the Wolf Boy, he looks a lot like Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman. Like it's very much he must have gotten inspiration from that because they almost look like they could be brothers. There is also clinical lycanthropy, which is more of like a mental portion of it, where somebody believes that they can turn into a wolf. And there are some individuals who do demonstrate things that are slightly abnormal when they are in their wolf form. Seems like their adrenaline goes up, their testosterone goes up, and so they do end up having slightly bigger muscles, they have more energy, they are more aggressive as a whole. And so there is almost like a beast mode for some of the people who do suffer from this. So there are some explanations on how some of this lore can come about, but it's still kind of interesting stories to hear and to learn from our past. So ladies, what about y'all? What did you guys think when you were doing your research and like looking up all this kind of stuff? What was running through y'all's heads? Lisa, why don't you go first?
Oh, wow. I did not realize there was so much of an expansion. I've only really researched on European and Scandinavian as well as Native American werewolves. But then when I heard that there were the Caribbean, I actually talked to my boss, Steve, who's Caribbean, and he's like, oh, yeah, I could tell you all about it. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. But it was really cool. It's just so much knowledge, and it's really, really fascinating, the whole history of it's all similar, but it's all not similar.
Yeah.
I personally like the Scandinavians the best and the Native Americans the best. Because to me, it seems to make more sense. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Kelsey, how about you?
Oh, goodness. As a baby werewolf back in 20... when I was a teenager, I started researching all of this. So a lot of what you're describing, I kind of have had in the back of my mind since I was a teenager. But the whole it being a psychosis and it being a mental illness, and then also with the hypertrichonosis, which can be a metaphor, or I also read in my research that may be an inspiration for Beauty and the Beast. Because there was a lord that had hypertrichonosis and was actually married a beautiful woman, and how that lore can influence our cultures and all of that. So that was very fascinating as well. And just how we have made so many excuses for real life duality and real life horrific things that human beings can do to one another. And can also, I was even thinking of the Vikings, like they not only wore the animal skins, they also took herbal remedies and herbal things that would make them go into that bestial rage.
Oh yeah, the berserkers were a whole thing.
A whole thing. Yeah. So it's very interesting that in maybe the peasant brain, you know, we don't know what's going on. We're waking up from our bed. We're getting ravaged. It must have been an animal. It couldn't have been because a man is civilized.
Yeah.
So we adjust that viewpoint and we say, no, it must have been a man that's turning into an animal or something like that. So it's all very interesting how our society has justified almost the werewolf.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Karen, how about you?
Well, for me, I was like more interested in like the real life human werewolves or the real werewolves. When I was doing my research, I found like, a lot of instances where whole families were accused and executed for being werewolves, like the Gallandon werewolves. They were like a whole family. They were accused and, were murdered. unfortunately. And there was like, the Peter Stubb who made a pact with the devil. He didn't want, worldly goods. He just wanted to, punish people who are mean to him. So I enjoyed, when I was doing my research, finding these little tidbits about humans who became werewolf or believed that they were werewolf and, subsequently were convicted and, for one young boy who actually died of a disease. What's his name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I read about him.
But yeah, he died of a disease, and they thought he was a werewolf. He thought he was a werewolf, even though he kind of lied. I don't think he really was. I think he was just trying to boast to a girl that he really wanted to marry, and she was like, "You're filthy."
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Yeah, and then he was suffering from some sort of psychological disorder and shortly died. And I was like, oh. So yeah, my research, I enjoyed looking at the human side of it and, the whole persecution of werewolves, along with, the witch hunting aspect of it. And I believe one of the witch hunters, the famous witch hunters, died as a result of being attacked by a wolf, if I remember doing my research.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, social justice.
Yes.
Karma.
Yeah.
Karma, chameleon.
But it is interesting how the stories evolve. Like, even if you go all the way back to like the ancient lore, like ancient Greek lore, there is so many multiple levels of it. And depending on whose poem or story that you read it from, depended on how it happened. And like, like I said with King Lycon, like there's one that said that he sacrificed his son's entrails specifically. And then like there's like another one where it was like, oh no, it was just like some servant who was from this like other area that he was like, oh, we can serve him up. Like, it's not a big deal. And so it all kind of depends on where it came from. But when you read it and when you consume those lores, you get a picture of the people of that time. And I think that's really neat to see how it's painted and how it evolved and how it changed. And when you understand like what happened between pre-medieval times to post-medieval times and everything that happened in between, and seeing how the lore changed and how people were associating to the lore. I thought I think it's just really interesting, and I think it's neat. Like with like the Navajos, when it came to the wolf witches, there's a direct connection to the Vikings. They had connection to those guys. There was interactions. So it's one of those deals of how much of that lore is connected to something that physically really did happen, and just kind of seeing the evolution of it, and especially the evolution of it into what we see in media, and how the media has changed from the early on days to now what's coming out today, and how the lore even for what a werewolf is there has completely changed, depending on who makes it. A silver bullet ain't gonna do shit.
Yeah.
So like I think it's really cool, the evolution of it all, which is why we wanted to do this episode. And so we're gonna go ahead and start kind of talking about some of the films. The ladies are gonna pick up some films that they really like. I'm gonna pick up some films that I like. I did pick a whole bunch of films that have significance to how things kind of like progressed, but we'll talk about all sorts of stuff.
Sorry, you know what I really miss? Like back in the day, you had tales of, that person was a vampire, because we like unearthed their body and they weren't rotten and stuff. I miss that for like the modern age. Like we don't have our modern like werewolf or modern vampire or modern
we have
zombie.
the zombies. We do have zombies.
We still have zombies, but it's still kind of like, it saddens me that we don't have that modern equivalent like we did back in the old days, because everything is explained away by science.
Facts.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
No, We got aliens.
Oh, we do have aliens.
Okay,
We
hold
got
on, hold on, hold on.
This is true. This is true.
Aliens. It's
Aliens.
We also just have nature. Nature is scary.
I mean, yeah.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Oh, it is.
It is. Yeah, no, definitely is.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back into the movies. The very first film was in 1913, and it was called The Werewolf. Unfortunately, this is a lost film. All of the copies of this film were destroyed in a fire in the early 1920s.
Makes me so sad.
I
Me
know,
too.
right? Because
Yeah,
it
I would
actually,
love-
people spoke very highly of it. And so it was one of these deals of like, oh man, I wish we
I
still
could saw
had this one.
It sounds awesome.
It did.
Yes,
I was like, oh,
yeah.
that's a great movie. And it was a silent film, a silent black and white. And I'm like, this would have been great.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we still have this? Why do we have crap? but we don't have this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Even if your art is shit is still fertilizer. However,
I mean, it's like, it goes back to the whole hearkening of film restoration and film archiving.
Yeah.
And so it's kind
Yep.
of like we lose a lot of that because of fires or neglect or whatever.
Yep.
So
Streaming.
unfortunately,
Yep. But
Yeah.
we do have a very iconic film, and it is The Werewolf in Paris in 1933 that kind of kicked off a lot of what we today consider werewolf movies. It then led to The Werewolf in London in 1935. But then we have The Wolfman in 1941, which was a great film. Who here loves that film?
Oh, it's a classic.
It's a fantastic.
Classic. Awoos all around.
Ow! All right. Then we do have a really iconic film. This film is actually the very first time that you actually see a transformation on screen becoming a werewolf, and that is Frankenstein Meets the Werewolf in 1943. This is a Universal picture, so it is part of that golden age of monster movies. Then we go into The Werewolf, which was in 1956. We have Curse of the Werewolf in 61. We have The Boy Who Cried Werewolf in 1973. And then we have an iconic film that I feel like most people see, and it is one of the very few horror movies that my mother loves, The American Werewolf in London in 1981. Yeah, I know. All of us were like, oh. this one gets a from everybody.
it's like,
This one was iconic for multiple reasons. My favorite is the fact that it inspired Michael Jackson's Thriller.
and it's Thriller.
Yeah.
We're all singing now.
Yes. But this was not the only film that came out that year. Lisa, do you want to talk about the film that did come out this year also that you love?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Fun facts. Okay. The Howling also came out this year, which is one of my favorite movies. The funny thing is that one of my favorite special effects artists, Rob Bottin, was working on The Howling. But the person who was his assistant, Rick Baker, who is my all-time favorite special effects person, he was Rob Bottin's assistant, but he had to leave to go work on American Werewolf in London. So you have these two brilliant minds fighting against each other.
And American Werewolf got there first.
Only because they had to take Rick Baker.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but
By a landslide.
Yeah, by a
A
landslide.
landslide.
Rob Bottin is the guy who did The Thing. So
Yeah.
you had two very talented people,
Yep.
and they had to split them.
After that, in 85, we do have Teen Wolf that was extremely popular. In 87, we have The Howling 3. There was more before that, and I think there's been a few more after that one.
Oh, yeah.
there was 6 Howlings.
Then we have The Wolf in 1994, starring Jack Nicholson
And Michelle
Which-
Pfeiffer.
and Michelle Pfeiffer. Yep. And
Mhm.
then we're gonna kind of get more into like the modern age, where we have Underworld in 2003. We have The Cursed in 2004. We have Skinwalkers in 2006. We have Where in 2013. The Beast Within here back in 2019. And next year, we have a remake of the Universal Wolfman coming out here in 2025.
Exciting news.
I know, right? So,
Yeah.
let's just do like two films that I did not mention that you're like, oh, but this is like one of my favorites that we just kind of need to acknowledge when it comes to werewolf films. Karen, you want to go first on this one?
Well, since werewolf is not my favorite, creature comfort, like I enjoyed Where. Like when I first saw it, I was like, I fell in love with the werewolf. Okay, that man was tall, big hands, sexy all around, and then when he turned into that werewolf, I was like,
I don't know if that was censored or maybe I didn't hear it.
it probably censored itself.
Let's just say, audience, Karen is blushing and blushing pretty good. Okay, but like ones that we did not mention.
But the one that I actually really loved is Late Phases.
Okay.
The actor that was in it, Nick Damisi, I think that's his name. He was in Stakeland. He was my favorite character in this movie. If y'all never seen it, watch it. He plays like a blind vet who avenges his dog because his dog tried to protect him and got killed by a werewolf.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he avenged his dog. See, it's not about the dog. I mean, the dog's a family. That's like, those two are like my favorite. One that we talked about and one that we didn't talk about.
Do you have any TV shows where you like the werewolf representation?
No.
No. Okay. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Lisa, how about you?
Okay. My two movies that we haven't talked about that I love to death is the 1984 movie A Company of Wolves. That
One
is
of my favorites.
such a great movie.
Oh,
It's a bunch of little stories, and it actually goes through the different types of mythos of werewolves with the different stories.
That's cool.
It's really good. I think it's on Shudder right now. I can't remember. I own a copy, but that's because I love werewolves.
starring the late great Angela Lansbury.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, it's on Prime.
Oh yeah,
There
you
you
have
go.
to see it. You have to see it.
Use
It's
that subscription,
100%.
ladies and gents.
Yeah, I 100% love it.
There you
It's
go.
great. It's
What
got
else?
great werewolf transportation information in it. Also, Dog Soldiers. I love the shit out of Dog Soldiers.
Yeah.
That was a freaking great
Yes.
movie.
That is a great movie. All right. Kelsey, how about you?
I'm going to go with Ginger Snaps.
Yes.
The 2000
Yes.
film. If anybody hasn't seen it, think it's on Prime. It is.
It was. I think I saw it on Tubi not too long ago.
Yeah,
Also,
I think it's on Tubi.
I mean, Catherine Isabel and Emily Perkins.
Mhm.
Let's just say they were an awakening of
Yes.
mine.
It's on Peacock. It's on Peacock.
It's on Peacock.
Okay, Peacock.
Use that Peacock subscription, folks.
Right. We are not getting any
Not
money
affiliated. We're not affiliated.
We're not getting
We're-
any cut from talking about those guys.
But,
Unfortunately.
if you haven't seen Ginger Snaps, just go see it just for the monologue the nurse gives Ginger
Oh,
and her
yes.
sister.
Yes.
That
there's some great-
monologue.
There's not only great horror in that movie, but there's great comedic value.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
And the
very much
just-
makeup
so.
is fantastic.
And the makeup is
is.
great. The tail prosthetic.
Yep.
We're just
I
gonna
liked her.
leave it at that.
In her face.
And then I'd actually like to give a little shout out to a series,
Yeah, which one?
Being Human,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
the British version, guys.
Of course,
Go
because
watch
the British
the British
version is so much
version.
better.
Yes, so much.
And George is probably one of my favorite.
He's such a little sweetie pie.
He's a sweetie pie, and he's probably like one of my favorite werewolves because he does give that duality.
He does.
And like he's just so
he's adorable.
Little button.
Yeah.
I know, right?
It's like, and I met the actor. It was actually at my first con that
Aw.
I got to meet him.
Oh, awesome.
And I was a bundle of nerves, and he's just a great, awesome guy. So
Yes.
speaking for the actor and his work, great all around. And
No, that's awesome. I am going to give a nod to Hemlock Grove because I do really enjoy the werewolf lore that they have. It is through a family of Romani, and there is reverence to the change, and it shows the duality as well as the repercussions of not respecting and honoring the transition. So overall I'm like, this is amazing. Like, how could you not love, like,
I illustrated that one scene with the hand.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll have to talk it up.
It's one of my favorites. And then I didn't have it here in the list, but we did talk about it earlier. I actually do kind of dig the whole like Van Helsing thing because I liked the dynamic between vampire and werewolf and how it showed like the vampires thinking that they were more, suffocated versus like the werewolf, and how the werewolf was treated like it was an animal versus being a man and animal.
I
thought,
might be getting ahead of myself, but it's one of my favorite werewolf designs.
Yeah. I actually
the
think
werewolf.
Yeah, like Hugh Jackman's werewolf is like exactly what you think of when you think of a monster wolf. I mean, that's why I used it as the example previously, because I was like, if you're going to think, okay, this is like a monster werewolf, but it's like really a man and human man and wolf put together, this is what you can think of. And it's like an instant picture. But let's go ahead and kind of like dig into some of our favorites. So we got a list, y'all, of all the favorites that we're going to kind of cover. First things first, because we gotta give them something because they've been cursed. Who is your or what movie, book, TV show, whatever, or even just person was your favorite cursed werewolf? Kelsey, you get to go first.
Oh boy, I think I'm pulling from George. I think he's my favorite cursed one because I think he really shows that duality. He doesn't want to be a werewolf. That is George from Being Human.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify is that he really is like he's a man and he's a wolf, and he really wants to keep those two separate. So he really is like the epitome of a cursed person. For me.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa, how about you?
It would have to be Lon Chaney Jr.
Okay.
Lon Chaney.
Yeah.
I used to watch that movie over and over on Creature Feature when I was a kid. I loved the way he acted. I loved how traumatic he was, and yeah. So he's my favorite first one.
Okay, Karen, how about you?
I guess I have to go with Cursed, the one with because it's been so long since I've seen it. The one with
Christina Ricci.
Yes.
Yeah. Joshua Jackson.
What is her name? I see her face.
Isn't her brother Jesse Eisenberg?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And there's a cover of Little Red Riding Hood sung by Bowling for Soup.
Yep.
At the beginning of that movie.
Yep. I actually really like that film. I know a lot of people don't. They're like, oh, it's a horrible film. I'm like, oh, it's perfect. It's campy.
Fun.
It's
Fun movie.
You got gorgeous people throughout it. You have Christina Ricci, Joshua Jackson. How can you go wrong with that? Like,
throw it on in the background at your next Halloween party and see who walks away. And those are your real and the people who stay are your real friends.
Exactly. Like, I hate it when people give that one crap because I'm like, no, that one was actually kind of a good film. Like, could they have had a better budget and done more? Yeah, of course. But like,
Yeah.
I think they did pretty good for the budget they had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I loved the film. For me, my cursed one probably going to be Hull. I think I liked his take.
Okay.
I liked his. All right, so when we go into shapeshifters, Lisa, who's your favorite shapeshifter?
I can't remember the actor's name, but I love the actor who played Lucian.
Michael Sheen.
Underwear. Oh, I love. He is so freaking hot, and I don't know. There's just something about the way he was staring, and
Mm-hmm.
when he was in love with the vampire, and it was just so intense. And he was just. I loved him as he's my favorite shapeshifter.
Okay.
100%. I
Here,
would say
here.
that.
Yeah. Kelsey, how about you?
I'm going for one. So we mentioned The Howling. This
Mm-hmm.
is from a Howling sequel.
Mm-hmm.
The Marsupials. I would argue that Jerboa,
Oh God,
the
yeah.
female werewolf, I
Yes.
think she's a shapeshifter.
There you
'Cause
go.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my favorite.
I would say Hemlock is my favorite when it comes to the shapeshifter. Again, simply because of the lore behind it and like the reverence that they have for the change. I think that's why it hits. Now we're gonna talk about a wolf man. So it's more wolf than man. Kelsey, who's your favorite?
See, I had Teen Wolf for this
Okay.
because I was thinking aesthetically, he's more of a
that one
wolf
is
man.
that one is more of an aesthetic, so that's okay.
Yeah, Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf? Okay. Karen, how about you?
I would have to say the 2010 version of The Wolfman.
Okay. Groove it.
And also, side note, there's like 8 movies of The Howling.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I've seen all of them.
Me too. I have all of them.
as a
I
flex.
have the whole collection. Sisters in Howling, yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Lisa, how about you?
The Wolfman, okay. I would have to. Oh, that's so hard.
It is. Because there's so many good ones.
I like the 2010 Wolfman too, but I like that actor as well. So, I'll have to say that one.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Lon Chaney Jr. I think can't go wrong with an original. But I won't lie, I actually kind of like Jack Nicholson's. So he was a close second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close second for that one.
Something just crossed my mind. We didn't even touch on Werewolf by Night.
No,
Marvel
we did not.
movie.
No, we did not. But we'll take a second and we'll talk about that one.
Okay.
We'll take a second to talk about that one. We'll go through this list and then we'll give it its nod.
Heard.
Now, Monster Werewolf.
Mm.
I know. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I actually like the Monster Werewolf from The Howling when Richard Picardo changed.
Okay.
There was just an intensity. A lot of people don't know who's in that, but there's just something about it. There's just like, wow.
Did.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have to say my favorite monster werewolf will be Werewolves Within, because
Okay.
they remind me of the werewolf game. You're like, who's the werewolf? Is he the werewolf? Is she the werewolf? I did like the whole transformation that she does. I actually really love that movie. I forgot all about the movie.
That movie's great.
It is a great one. It is absolutely a great
talk
one.
Talk about Dragon Con down in the Hilton basement.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, Kelsey, how about you? Who's your favorite monster werewolf?
I'm gonna go with Dog Soldiers.
Nice. There you go.
That backlit image of the werewolf with the spindly fingers
Oh yeah.
standing
Mhm.
over the bed, like that
Yep.
lives in my brain rent free. Monster werewolf creeping in on me in my bed.
There you go. There
Creep,
you
creep,
go.
creep.
I'm gonna say Van Helsing because again, it's that iconic like look of a monster werewolf that I just in all of them. It wasn't even just specifically like him, like Hugh Jackman. It was all of the werewolves that you saw in it. I was like, yes, that's exactly what like a monster werewolf should look like. Now this
Yeah.
one is gonna be like the fun one. Transformation. Favorite transformation from man to wolf. I'm going to go ahead and say mine first, and that is going to be American Werewolf in London. It was iconic. It was beautiful. I thought it was done amazingly well. And the fact that it inspired a music video just kicks it up a notch for me. Kelsey, what about you?
I'm gonna second you on this one. Yeah, American Werewolf. That is
Mhm.
the werewolf movie that my mom showed me, probably too young. Uh, and yeah, it is the iconic image of someone transforming into a werewolf. It is
Yeah.
is visceral. It's the body horror. It
Mhm.
is even the soundtrack. It's
Yes.
all of it.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, if you haven't seen just that scene, go watch
Yep.
it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cinematography is just amazing.
I mean, it's the reason why we have so many different things in the horror genre is because of that sequence and the way that they shot it. You know, it's
Totally.
just absolutely amazing. Lisa, how about you?
I will have to agree with you. Go Rick Baker. The best
Yeah.
damn werewolf transformation ever. I
Yeah.
mean, I could feel it. It's that
Right?
intense. I mean, just like I'm like, oh. I mean, and for that time, that year, for that to be as beautiful as it was, beautiful,
Oh yeah.
horrifying, and for the technology that we didn't have back then in special
Mhm.
effects, 100%. That's my
Yeah.
favorite. Sorry, Rob. I like you, but Rick beat
Rick
you.
knocked it out of the park with that one. Karen, how about you?
I mean, it's everything. I mean, a werewolf in London, and then Thriller because I
Yeah.
had the Thriller jacket, man. Okay, I did the dance for my parents. They're like,
I
Karen,
used to
come,
be part of the flash mob in my area,
Oh,
so
like, Karen,
wow.
come do the dance for my friends. So yeah, I mean, American Werewolf in London and Thriller.
yep. Yep. Now, I will say this, a close second for me is actually from a movie we've already reviewed, and that's Trick or Treat, and it's when the chick werewolves transform around the
Um,
campfire. I
Yeah.
kind
Snaps
of
to you right now. So many
Yeah.
snaps.
I kind of dig that transformation simply because it was elegant. Like a weird gory way.
And it's
But
like female empowerment
yeah,
in the
I mean,
Exactly.
same note.
they said that it was supposed to be inspired by the Dance of the Seven Veils. So
Right.
so it makes sense for it to be elegant and graceful and like very sexual and beautiful all at the same time. And I'm like, go ladies. Just go. Eat up those men, transform, have at it. Have a wonderful Halloween night.
you
Like,
know, I'm still upset with the dad. I mean, you already had your story. Why are you going back out again?
I know, right? They could have had somebody else. Um
Child abandonment.
so now when it comes to media, and this could be book, movie, or show, what is one that is like a, you know what? I love this piece that is based on werewolves. It could even be a video game if you want it to be. Lisa, why don't you start?
Well, there is a movie, and it also has a book by our favorite Stephen King, The Cycle of the Werewolf, and Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
And there's something about the stories and that story about it that, because it's got the two types of media in it, it's just great.
Mm-hmm.
Throw in real quick, if I was to choose like a video game, it would be Altered Beast, because I used to play that.
Karen, how about you?
I would have to say the Deacon Chalk series by James Tuck.
Okay.
I mean, where spiders, man? Where spiders? Love it.
No, thank you.
Kind of spooky.
Oh yeah, you should read his series. Like he has like different were creatures. At one point there was like were shark or something, or a were dinosaur. I was like, what?
Mind you, listeners, spiders are one of Karen's favorite animals.
Yes, it's my spirit animal.
So if she can become a were spider, she'd be all for it.
I mean, there is like a creature in White Wolf's thing. You can become a were spider. I was this close to playing them. This close. But the Ayaba won out because of were hyena. And the female hyenas, were the pack.
They run the pack.
They run the pack.
Mm-hmm.
And they have pseudopenises. So it's kind of like, is that a male? Is that a female? I don't know. So that was my favorite game with werewolves. Okay. And I would have to say another good book that I like to read with a were creature in it is the Jane Yellowrock series by Faith Hunter, where she has a female shapeshifter.
Rock on.
She doesn't just shapeshift. She has to like find something that's equivalent size to her body, so she could put her like spirit or something in it.
Okay.
So she could change into
kind of like a warg kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So she has to use like a big ass stone to like use her power to shapeshift, because it's like equivalent size to her and it's part of nature. And so, yeah. Okay. Female power, man. Female power.
Kelsey, how about you?
I am also gonna go with my favorite werewolf book. It's Blood and Chocolate, made into a terrible movie.
Oh my god!
Well,
I'll send you a link to my fanfic.
Oh goodness! I read the book back in high school and went to go see the movie and was thoroughly disappointed. But the book still holds a very near and dear to my heart, because I felt like it was very much female empowerment and navigating ourselves in this world where we might be misunderstood and we might have to almost defy our family and our upbringing to find love and establish harmony between people and
not letting our trauma define who we are.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, because that was actually my media was that book. I absolutely love the book. I don't hate the movie, but there are things that I love about the book that I'm like, why did you change that in the film?
Exactly. We can have a whole other podcast, I'm sure, just on the differences.
Oh yeah. Which is why I wrote the fanfic that I wrote, because I was like, no, I'm going to change a few different things, because there were a few things in the book that I was like, doesn't sit quite right with me.
I agree.
Yeah, but
I thorough read through.
I kind of like married the two, and I took what I liked from both and created my own thing. But no, Blood and Chocolate, I think that was like my first. No, it wasn't my first werewolf novel or whatever, but it was like my first one that was not like classically written, and it was really enjoyable. I really loved the dynamics that were in there, and even the film itself. If you've never read the book, you can just take the movie as the movie. Had some really unique things in it as well. I thought the wolves are actually shot quite beautifully in that film.
Oh yeah, and I guess that would be the shapeshifter variety.
That would be the shapeshifter variety. And I also liked the Eastern Europe lore that they had. Like they actually talked about the loup-garou and the reverence that came with all of that. So I thought it was like, if you take the book away, it was an interesting movie.
Yes, no.
If you put it with the book, No.
Just view them separately as separate
Yes.
entities. They're
Yep.
similar in title alone.
Yep. And that, like, literally title and like a name of a few of the characters. That's it.
That's it. That's it.
But let's go ahead and let's all name our favorite overall werewolf movie. Kelsey, you get to go first.
Overall, I think the one that most influenced me as a person actually is Ginger Snaps.
Rock on.
It showed me a lot of it actually showed me my first like female powerful werewolf and a very female oriented central movie.
Yeah.
And that as a young teenage girl going through some of the similar themes that are in that movie it shaped me.
Yeah.
So
No, I get
Ginger
that.
Snaps.
Lisa, how about you?
I would have to say, as much as I love this one movie, I would say the one that I love the most is The Company of Wolves. I just love the storytelling.
Yeah.
And it's got a powerful female role model as well. It's just, there's something magical about the movie. I highly recommend people to read the book too, but see the movie. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Okay. Karen, how about you?
I could watch Dog Soldiers like over and over and not get bored with it because there's like different aspects that I catch every time I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, some of the men are just cute and sexy.
I knew that's why. I knew that's why.
Mexy.
For me, I'm actually going to say American Werewolf in London. It is a movie I think I watch at least like 3 times a year, if not more. It's enjoyable. I've seen it on the big screen. It's just a fun movie. Like, you can't not love that film.
So jealous that you got to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
I did too.
I'm in the Tampa Bay area, and the Tampa Theater showed it one year during Halloween.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up, given my geographical location.
Definitely do. Honestly, like, listeners, if you have like a really cool theater in your area that used to maybe even be like one of those old school theaters, and they do show old films there, check out around like October time. A lot of them do showcase some really cool, iconic horror films. Like I said, like American Werewolf in London, I got to see that there. I've even gotten to see some like non-horror stuff. Like, I took my mom to see White Christmas on the big screen there. And so, like, check it out. You might be surprised. Now, we are going to do our final thoughts because we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Final thoughts. Let's do what we love about werewolves and what we hope for the werewolf subgenre of horror as it's coming into the world. Kelsey, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so my final thoughts. I love this genre. I hope that it grows into more than what it has been. I hope we get to see more innovation on how we can see a transformation, on how we can see the interpretations of mental illness, perhaps cultures that we don't quite understand, how then we can merge with those cultures as other peoples and maybe work together. I'd love to see werewolves build upon each other and become more of that protector visage than that monster. I mean, I'd also love to see kind of more of the monster too, if I'm not gonna lie. Just for the fun of it, just to see the horror side of it, because we all learn from horror. Viewing more horror makes us actually more compassionate people.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Lisa, how about you?
I just love this whole genre in general. I would like to see definitely more transformation aspects, but I would hope that it would not go into the AI. I would like it to stay practical, but maybe more advanced with the technology we have. special effects, we should get some really great stuff. I would like to see more indigenous and other cultures in the werewolf genres, because I think we need to see more so that we can educate ourselves as well,
Yeah.
because there's so many stories. All in all, I just love this genre. I like the monster, like the whole duality of it, the human versus animal. And when you're conscious about how you fight yourself mentally, whether you should transform or not, or you can't help it, I just would like to see more stories like that.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Karen, how about you?
Such a rich history and stories of the werewolf. I could see it, changing and adding more to film and story wise. I would love to see the different types of werewolves, from the indigenous to the Hispanic to Asian type werewolves, because we always see the European werewolves. We never see anything different from that. And also, I would love to see more were creatures, not just the werewolf, but more were creatures, were spiders.
How did I know you were going to say that?
I mean,
Right? Right? It
just
wasn't a
think of like,
given at all.
think of like a giant
Oh,
were spider coming at you, or
no,
giant
thank you.
were bats.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
I mean,
But I
there's
mean,
even
who doesn't want to turn into a bat and just fly away? Like,
I know, right?
That's pretty cool.
And then there's like, with the white, because I played White Wolf, Werewolf, the Werewolf the Apocalypse. So their whole idea of different were creatures just fascinates me. So I want to see like more were creatures and the different stories you could tell with were creatures.
mhm.
I mean, there's were birds, there's a were
There are.
raven.
Avians, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Or be a weird T-Rex. Whatever strokes your goat, you know?
whatever, yeah. I
You
mean,
know it. There's definitely some books about the were reptilians.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, there
I
is.
mean, there's like, there's a novel about where octopus. It's a romance novel.
Oh, I'm afraid to
I'm
ask.
good. I'm
Well,
gonna
now
pass
I'm
on
No, thank
intrigued.
you.
that. I would actually love to see more lore-based werewolves. We do have like a lot of werewolf stories and all that, but there's that are like off of like European, like Western European lore. But I kind of like more of like the actual like lore stories. They are horrific. They are grotesque. They have amazing details that I would love to actually just see stuff based off of that. I want it to be a little bit more gritty. And it from to be from all over the world. There's if you're going to even go beyond just wolves themselves, there is where jaguars and hyenas and all sorts of other creatures that are used in folklore throughout the world. Where tigers, like it's just one of those deals of I would love to just see more of the lore being actually like shown and talked about. Transformations, yeah, obviously, like with what we have going on today, practical effect wise, the things you could come up with, oh
Yeah.
man, like it's
As
I
long
guess
as
that's
it's practical.
yeah, as long as it's
practical.
practical.
I guess that's my assignment.
You know, like we say on here all the time, use more real fake blood.
Oh yeah.
So like
Yeah.
more fake or more practical effects, obviously. And I feel like the practical effects are the ones that usually land the best. But it's just one of these deals of there's so much that is untapped, and there's just such a small section of what a werewolf is that we've seen. And I'm excited to see where we go from there and what more they can show. What now? We have entered into my favorite time of the show because we have a first time guest, the electric chair.
Uh,
Wow.
oh no.
don't worry. Like almost everybody has survived. We've all sat in the electric
Almost.
chair and we've survived. So now, whether or not we came undamaged from it or not, that's a whole other question. But we're alive, and that's the
Okay.
most important thing.
Okay.
Are we?
I guess I'm prepared. Oh no.
Are you undead and you're just now telling me?
Karen?
Damn, Karen.
Gotta drop
I
something
should've
on that.
known.
She did say zombies was her favorite.
Yeah.
Yes. Which if you guys haven't listened to it already, go check out our Evolution of Zombie episode. You can hear about Karen's absolute love for zombies.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, anybody who's ever watched Bob's Burgers, it's kind of on the same level as Tina Belcher and her love of zombies.
Yeah. God, yeah.
All right, but we are now in the electric chair. Kelsey, you are all
Oh.
strapped in.
I
Are you
am
ready?
ready as I'm gonna be.
Rock on. Okay, first question. My hand's on the switch. Who is your favorite horror villain?
Freddy Krueger.
That is an approved answer. You get to go on to the next one. Karen also loves Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Who doesn't?
He's funny. He's
Right?
funny.
What is your horror hot take? So your unpopular opinion.
Jaws should be taken off of the top 3 scariest movies.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Now-
same.
Now I'm gonna say it like this. I don't find it to be scary, but there is a reason why millions of people do not go into the ocean, and it is because of that movie. So
Mhm.
Okay.
again, go watch.
I live in Florida, so
I've swam next to sharks. It's not that big of a deal.
exactly.
For our listeners, if you haven't listened to our Jaws episode, go listen to that. We were with our buddy Mike Faber, and we talked all things Jaws. It was a fun time. But I do understand that. We actually talked about how a lot of people don't think of Jaws as a horror film, even though technically it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always got disappointed when it came up on the top 3
That's fair.
in those
That's fair.
countdowns. For me.
All right. Kiss, Marry, Kill, Werewolf Edition.
Oh.
Your choices are going to be Lon Chaney Jr., the OG werewolf, or OG Wolfman.
Okay.
David Naughton, who is the guy who played David in the
American
in London.
Werewolf.
And then Lisa's favorite werewolf, shapeshifter, Michael Sheen.
Oh.
I know.
Ugh. I would oof.
I know, right?
I think I would kiss Michael Sheen.
Okay.
I would so hard. I guess I would kill David because he's not coming back from being and then I'd marry Lon Chaney.
There you go.
At least I get an inheritance, right? Because his family's rich.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And then final question. My hand is still on the switch.
Oh.
What 2 fictional characters of any genre would you choose to help you survive a horror film?
I'm gonna go with the Wolverine
Okay.
and Hermione Granger.
Okay. Good choices.
Huh?
Not
Because
mad at
I got
that.
magic, I got an invincible force of strength, and also brains with Hermione.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Guess what, Kelsey? You survived. Yay!
I was really worried after that Jaws thing went south.
No. You're good. Everybody is allowed to have their unpopular opinion. Doesn't mean it's right.
My least favorite.
Feels good to get out of that chair. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Right?
My least favorite werewolf transformation has to be like the Harry Potter werewolves.
Oh God, yes, that was
They
horrible.
were.
Yes, and also like
Awful.
the end result.
Mm-hmm.
The end
Yeah.
result was just disappointing.
I'm like,
Very
that's
much so.
all there is. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
I agree.
Now, we before we fully wrap this up, we are going to do an honorable mention, which is going to be a Marvel film that actually, if you have Disney Plus, you can actually see it both in black and white and color. I do recommend watching the black and white first. The color is cool to watch, but the black and white is like old film chef's kiss perfection. And it is Werewolf at Midnight?
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. I'm sorry. Werewolf by Night. Fantastic film. I actually really liked that there was that little bit of like, okay, he turns into a werewolf portion, but I loved the dynamic of everybody else in the story. They're all hunters who are all hunting something else completely, and then they find out one of their own is a werewolf and who's been helping the other supernatural creatures get away.
I mean,
It's a fun dynamic.
It is. Who here has actually watched it?
I saw it probably when it came out.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's
I have the comics.
Yeah. The comics themselves
comments are
actually great.
great.
Great. Yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
seen the movie, but I have the comics.
Yeah, I would say they're comparable.
Mhm.
I think they're
Definitely.
like, if you like one, you should like the other.
Visually comparable.
Very
Especially.
visually comparable.
They definitely took the notes from the comic to make those visually, especially with the swamp creature. Swamp thing.
Yeah, Swamp Thing. Yeah, like the way that they did like the vampires.
Mhm.
It has very much like Golden Age Universal Monster vibes, but it's a Marvel comic. It has like that like quirky funny parts. But what's actually kind of cool, it was directed by a gentleman who previous to that had only ever done scores for movies, and he scored this as well as directed it, but he directed it with the score in mind, and you can definitely feel it with the way that it flows and the way that it works. But I think that one's like a really great newer werewolf movie.
I think it also like layers on to the genres of the werewolf, because you've got that backing of the Lon Chaney movies and those classic Universal horror movies, and you see it in the black and white, and you're already kind of in that vibe, that mood, to really get involved with that sense of we don't know exactly what's going on. There's sort of that mystery.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It is. And there's some really great kills in that film too. Like the way that they kill some of those assassins, I'm like, all right, that's actually that's a pretty great kill. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
it's like, oh, I didn't know we were going to go this hard.
And it's like, okay, do it.
sometimes you have to go hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's hard or nothing.
So before we wrap up, fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of kind of had a book dedicated to me about a shifter. It was a...
What book?
I have to find it. But it was like a were dinosaur.
Okay.
And I believe it was a pterodactyl.
Okay.
But if I find it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
You need to find it now because it needs to be in this episode that you, madam, have a were book dedicated to you as somebody who is not a huge were fan.
I know, right? So it was given to me for free, and she's like, I dedicated this to you because I knew you were having a hard time.
Aww.
And I was like, okay.
Who wrote it?
I believe her name was her name is also Karen. I want to say Karen Gallagher.
All right, look it up.
I'll have to find it again. It's somewhere in my pile of books. I have a lot of books. Lots of books.
Karen, why bring it up if you don't have it ready for us to be able to Google and get to ourselves?
I mean,
Karen, I am on Amazon wanting it right now.
Right?
I would order it right now.
I will actually make sure that the link for the book that was dedicated to Karen is in our show notes. So you can click the link and purchase the book upon which has been dedicated to our non-were loving friend, Karen. All right. Our lovely little ghouls. What is your favorite werewolf movie? Come tell us in our comment section. We would love to hear about it. You can find us on all social media things. We have an Instagram, we have a TikTok, we have an X, we have Threads, we have Blue Sky, we have Lemon8, and we got our Facebook group, which is so much fun, as we already talked about here in the episode. You can also subscribe and like us wherever you listen to podcasts. So Apple, Google, Spotify, and yes, we are on YouTube. So come, comment, like, share, do all the fun things. But guess what? You can also follow all of us individually. Kelsey, where can they find you? What do you got going on that you would like to promote?
You can find me on Instagram as Kelsifer Quinn, and you can find me doing cosplay.
Ooh.
And cosplay-like things. I'm a crafter and also a werewolf enthusiast. So send me your werewolf enthusiast likings. I am here for it.
Rock on. And like always, the links for her will be in the show description. So please click, check her out, have fun. She's amazing. Lisa, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. I have a blog on Blogger.
Rock on.
So.
Karen, how about you?
Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Reddit.
I am on all the things, and you can find me at Spilled Tea Wine Media Mind, literally on all the different platforms. But before we go, Kelsey, thank you so much for coming and joining us. We had so much fun with you today. We always appreciate having fun guests on, and you were definitely that.
Aw, thank you for having me.
Not
it's a pleasure.
Problem. Whenever we talk about werewolves, we'll make sure that you're here.
I love it. Can we get a collective awoo?
Yes,
Awoo.
of course.
Awoo.
Of course, I'm thinking about the chicken attack song when I do that.
That's fair. Honestly, you can do like a skitter noise. I don't know the noise that spider makes. There you go.
There you go.
Although I won't lie, whenever we have woo, I'm thinking Werewolf London, and then like
yeah, exactly.
And
maybe we can all meet at a Trader Vic's.
There we go. There we go. Alrighty. But our lovely little ghouls, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for sharing it and commenting and just like interacting with us. It means the world. We really do appreciate your love and support. So stay spooky, our lovely little ghouls. Ow.
Ow.
And this has been the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.